Whose idea was it to go to the Great Sand Dunes National Park that weekend? When did that idea come up? Well, I wouldn't be surprised if it was Kissinger's idea, because Watts had actually never camped, and I think he told her that he'd never made a campfire. And I do think that idea came up in the context of a little bit of a crisis where Chris Watts communicated to Nicole Kissinger that he was going to be leaving her for a week to join Shanann, to join his family, to join his kids on a pre-arranged, a pre-scheduled anniversary meeting celebration in North Carolina. And I think she was quite unhappy about that and wanted to be reassured regarding that. And it's within that context that the Great Sand Dunes National Park trip, that was the context, the framework for when that idea came up.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear thoughts build up until I can't. My mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. I got nightmares in my head, I fear.
Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. July 26, 2018 was the last Thursday leading up to Watts' final weekend with Nicole Kissinger before flying down to North Carolina. They were going to need to make it count. But first, there was some admin to be done. Unusually, the first call to Watts' phone that morning was from Kissinger. Since he was up and running, Watts elected to call his wife afterwards. Shanann called him back, then again mid-morning. Their calls may have had something to do with Vivint and the still broken garage sensor. Vivint is, of course, that security system, a little bit like Ring. Now, what's very interesting is at the end of this long several weeks period, Shanann is quite concerned that the Vivint security sensor isn't working. And of course, it's this garage sensor. And what was still not working when the crime was committed, and in what part of the house was the crime committed in terms of entering and exiting? The garage. And so that garage sensor not working was a way that he could enter and exit without being monitored. Not only not monitored by Shanann during this whole period, his comings and goings, but in theory also not monitored by the police. If the police came looking around, sniffing around, wanted to look at that data, well, it wasn't going to show them anything. Have you ever considered that? The only problem was the neighbor's security system, Trinastich. So I think their calls on this particular day had something to do with Vivint and the still broken garage sensor, or to do with cash, or both. Watts was going to need some if he was going to go on a camping trip with his mistress that weekend as well. On July 30th, we know for a fact that Shanann and Watts were still talking about the sensitivity of the Vivint settings. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if he said to her he's turned them off, or the reason that they are not alerting is because they were perhaps alerting to the dog all the time, and so he changed the sensitivity or turned it off completely. Now, just to give you an idea of just how important the money situation was, after work, Watts called Chase Bank, which suggests the idea to go to the Great Sand Dunes that weekend could have happened sometime that Thursday, possibly at work. Since Kissinger says in the video, "Thank you for coming here with me," it does appear to have been her idea. Do you agree with that? A few minutes after calling the bank, Watts accessed myprepaidcenter.com. It was by using this system that Watts was able to buy things for several weeks without alerting Shanann to his non-discretionary expenses. So think about, in the same way that the house has got these sensors that can alert Shanann to his comings and goings, and she can kind of monitor him, he's looking for loopholes. In the same way, because they share bank accounts and when transactions go off, Shanann is also alerted. He's looking for loopholes in that system. And when he learns the loopholes in order to conduct this affair secretly where he can get away with it, he thinks he's very clever, and he thinks he can do the same thing in a criminal murder investigation. And how well did he do? Well, I think they basically suspected him within the first day, didn't they? Coming back to the timeline, after that, Watts tried to sort out things with Vivint, calling Shanann afterwards to report any progress. Possibly he also took Kissinger out to the Lazy Dog restaurant near their home that evening and used his prepaid debit card to finance the meal. I've actually been to that restaurant myself. The food is actually pretty good. Meanwhile, Shanann's on Facebook and she and Bella were all smiles. Shanann gave herself a clean bill of health as well as everyone around her. And I think this also made things a lot more loaded and a lot more difficult to deal with in terms of the escalating nature of the situation. Is Shanann actually, there were things that were really distressing her. Actually, there were legitimate things that were worrying her. Actually, there were real things going on that were really, really serious. And what is Shanann doing? She's showing herself smiling, happy, thriving on social media. And so there's pressure on her to keep that up. And so on July 26th, she posted this message: third pregnancy, and I'm feeling really great. Not exhausted, not losing sleep, good mood. Really? Wasn't she in such a good mood about how her husband was behaving? Is there any mention about that? She says, patience with toddlers, great. I'm glad I'm thriving and so is everyone around me. Really? Would the thought of saying to someone you're thriving occur to you if you're literally starting to suspect that your partner might be cheating on you? Anyway, Shanann signs off by saying, if you're not thriving, you're missing out. And I'll think about those words in terms of Chris Watts. He doesn't want to miss out. He's experienced this life with Nicole Kessinger. And I think he's starting to develop serious FOMO, fear of missing out. Fear of missing out if he goes back to his marriage, if he goes back to his wife. He's not going to have this roller coaster ride ever again. And so he doesn't want to lose it. He has really, really serious fear of missing out on her, on everything that he enjoys with her. And so what is his idea of thriving? Is it being with Shanann, being with his pregnant wife, being with his kids, being with his family? Or is it being with this sex kitten? I mean, I'm sure that is how he sees her at the Great Sand Dunes. When she sort of goes down the dune on the board, you hear him saying, so damn sexy. That is how he sees her. That is how he's experiencing her. Is he thinking about Shanann in the same way? You know, with Shanann, he's always in trouble, he's always doing something wrong. She's always asking him to do something. He's always having to make excuses. He's always having to do chores. With Kessinger, he feels free. He feels like he can also be himself. He doesn't have to walk on eggshells. That's just his experience of the whole thing. All right, I'm not going to take it further than that, but I do have a question to ask you guys. On which day did Shanann say, sort out the Vivint sensor before I flip, in all caps? Bearing in mind, on July 26th, it was apparently still not sorted out. Let me know in the comments and let me know what you think about that. Do you think it was done on purpose, not sorting out that Vivint sensor while Shanann was away? What do you think? Thank you for listening. Look out for the next episode tomorrow, and I'll see you guys next time.